Hi, Jan.
Hi, Victor.
How are you doing? What's the weather like in Berlin?
It's the last summer days, I guess. So let's finish our interview and then I go out in the sun.
Sounds great. So let's start immediately. You just started an initiative, research initiative on governance innovation. Can you tell us a little about that?
Yeah, of course. Well, what we try to do in this project now, called Innovation in Governance, is looking at historical processes in which new forms of governance emerge and become established in the context of existing governance structures.
Mm.
And we look at two cases, particular innovation journeys, this is how we call it, from the field of tradable permit schemes and deliberative procedures. Tradable permit schemes is like this family of economic instruments which has become very fashionable also with regard to sustainable development over the last decades, which is about instituting markets for the right to exploit natural resources or pollute the environment. Emissions trading is probably the most prominent examples, but there are also interesting cases where the same kind of idea has been transferred to the problem of biodiversity, where species and habitat trading is being experimented with. So this is one family where we investigate how these new approaches have become articulated over time, how experiments have been carried out, and how this kind of new form of governance made it into the established practices and became established as, one could say, a very fashionable design for new governance at the moment. And then in contrast, there's this other family of approaches, which we call deliberative procedures, which comprises a whole different family of approaches, one could say, like consensus conferences, like citizen juries, like scenario workshops with stakeholders and so on. And these are, one could say, governance approaches that build more on a communicative approach to sustainable development. And also there we have a look at where these approaches come from, how they travel across different areas of application, different country contexts, and become big over time or vanish.
So, I mean, all of a sudden, as I see it, in the last years, you see a lot of research or papers on innovations in sustainability. Why is that interest taking off as you see it?
Well, I think one simple reason is that just innovation is a big buzzword at the current times, and it links up with wholly different debates about innovation in the context of global competitiveness, where innovation is thought to be like the most important thing for societies to get ready for the future in all different kinds of respects. So this is, I think, general like fashion of the term at the moment. But I think there's also a deeper understanding, which is that if we think about challenges of sustainable development and the necessary changes to the way we live, the way we produce goods, the way we deal with our environment, that we can't find solutions in a short-term perspective. When we just think about like new forms of regulation or new technologies, the process really from thinking up new options, alternatives, to putting them in practice will take a long time, and actually navigating this course, I think, is the challenge, which many people also recognize by turning towards innovation from like straightforward implementation of new solutions more towards considered experimentation and probing of options that could become feasible and fruitful in the future.
That's interesting. Now, what would you say is the biggest research challenge in regards to innovations for sustainability?
Well, I think in abstract terms, I mean, I don't want to go into like details now saying like this particular technology is the most important or another institutional innovation. But I think what is important for research on innovation, innovation in general, but specifically also for sustainable development, is that we have to see that it's a twofold challenge, and both of these parts need separate consideration. One is the creation of new ideas, the development of new concepts, the design of all kinds of new ways of organizing our industrial societies and interactions with nature, particularly also new forms of governance and policy making, what I'm interested in. This is one challenge. And there's a lot already there. People come up with new concepts, how things could look like and could be done. And I think the other important part of it is that we have to start to be more interested in the actual process of putting new ideas in practice. And this then would actually be research on how to carry out experiments, how to evaluate them, how to carefully monitor ongoing innovation with respect to new forms of governance, also with respect to new forms of organization and technologies and so on. So I think the challenge is that we come up with new designs for the future, but at the same time be considerate about how they work out in the presence, and invest more resources in actually figuring out how the process from present to the envisioned future setup society could look like, and how we can find this way with all the difficulties and the necessities for acknowledging uncertainty, trying out different options, acknowledging the diversity of perspectives on sustainable development, and the need to be open for contestation and revisions of designs for a sustainable future. But at the same time, try to keep course and not lose our way by, let's say, just letting new modes of governance that are orientated towards facilitating societal learning then be dominated, for example, by incumbent powerful interests that instrumentalize these new platforms for collaborative policy making for their concerns. So I think this is like a whole bubble of challenges that is ahead of us when we actually make innovation a topic of research, not only use it as a buzzword or claim for anything new that is supposed to make an improvement for whatever is claimed to be important.
Well, that's great, Jan. Thank you very much for your time, and enjoy the sun
thanks.
in Berlin.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.